All right, guys, here we've got the lead Prado. The trip leading Prado, the Prado 120 2008, still under 400,000 Ks. And we've been on a number of consecutive trips lately, and I thought, well, I knew it was due for an oil change. We like to do it every 5, and I thought it's time to have a bit of a check of a few things. And when I say that, it hasn't been long since we just put a set of prototype Bendix pads in the back of this and also the front. So not long ago it was up on the hoist and whatever, but we found something really interesting which is going to be very surprising and important information for a lot of people for prevention if you've got a Prado or any other vehicle similar, really, because it's all relative, okay? But this is obviously specific to Prado, but it's going to get you thinking. So look, first thing is, after you've done a number of trips, and we've done similar videos, but this one might be a bit different because each video is a little bit different. The one common thing is, yes, some people think I'm waffling on, but the rest want the information, so sit tight. So I put the vehicle up. What sorts of things am I going to check? We've just done a number of trips in the high country. We're going to check things like tyres, okay? So we want to have a look at the tyres and make sure that there's no rocks and yet, some people complain about tyres getting those sort of cuts in them, and that's why you need nice deep tread. You don't go with bald tyres because it's protection to this part of the tyre as well. So, we got lucky there. But just check the whole tyre in case there is rocks, stones. You can see there's more. It's not the only place it happens. If you're on those tracks, every tyre is different how much it gets. Some of the grippier tyres, because they're grippy and bite in more, they get more of that sort of damage anyway. So there you go. There's a bit of a chunk out of that one, right? So anyway, these are in pretty good condition, but the point is just check for punches and sidewall damage inside and out. You can see a lot of scuffing and that like that from the rocks. That's what you want to check out. Check out all your shockers, your boots, your bushes. Check for leaks and deterioration is something that you're checking for on a service. We don't talk about much because we've got Toyotas and they don't have leaks or deterioration, right? You can see the diff does plenty of dragging over things and whatever as well, and quite fresh, right? I just want to give you an idea of cleanliness as well. This vehicle, I haven't been underneath with a pressure washer or the degreaser or anything like that for as long as I can remember. I don't know, 6 months or a year, whatever. That's something that gets done maybe once every year or something like that, but there's not much point to it because cleaning this up, making it look good doesn't make any difference. But now it's not a stupid amount of water. If you wash it straight after each trip, you can see I haven't got, mud. It's dirty color, but it's not mud cake. You won't see mud or dirt. There's nothing caked up anywhere. Do you know what I mean? So when you work on the vehicle, you haven't got dust and dirt falling in places. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. It was a 5-minute rinse off, but I don't see mud caked everywhere, whatever. So clean's the first thing so you can see any leaks and deterioration. Look at this transfer case, nearly 400,000 Ks, bone dry. Now that doesn't happen on all of them. We see that slight weep sometimes. Well, if you look there, you can sort of see that slightest little sweat there anyway, but you do have to be careful. Some people are saying, oh, it could be the grease, and there's a point to that because the grease that flicks off, that is a lubricant, and there's oils in that can, come down there as well. But the ones we've seen, it's not that, very minor problem. So better get back to the point. What are we checking? We're just having a quick look around for damage, make sure we haven't stoved our fuel tank guard in. You see, we're always very careful to look after our fuel tank. See how good, you get a scrape, but see it's not dented in, pushed in like a lot of them are. And if you're the type that, you need a bit more protection, K-On have got a guard for that. We've just lubricated our drive shaft because we've done heaps of river crossings again. This vehicle, I want to be clear, it's done hundreds and hundreds of river crossings, right? In the last few years, we'll say, just to narrow it down even more. Lots of dirt roads, okay? Lots of off-road work. So what are we looking for? We're going to check everything, mate. We're going to check the boots. Again, new brake pads in there, those Bendix prototypes. We've got a few more sets to put in some vehicles, so stay tuned for who's going to get those. Looking at the suspension, make sure there's no leaks. Again, checking all the bushes, the diffs, any leaks at the diffs. Now, look, you get dust and dirt in there, you can get a bit of a weep. See that? That's not a leak. We're not worried about that. Even a bit more. They can fix themselves once it pushes the dirt back out again, right? So we're having a bit of a look around. It's more, I'm going to tell you if I find something. The main thing we're looking at after doing a lot of trips on a vehicle like this, the main thing we're looking at is tyres for damage, because they're the things that are on the ground. loose nuts and bolts type thing. So, you know, up the front here, you know, check all your guards up here, give those a hit, make sure there's no loose. Quite common, people complaining about rattles, you know, a bit of a, that's, we don't know, that's just a plastic inside. You know, so, you know, it's kind of like an ARB design, you know, not ideal, is it? But, you know, you get that. So, checking around for anything that's come loose, but it's been installed correctly, it won't come loose, all right, to the right, you know, torque specification or the right tightness, if you like, to put it simple. Look, bone dry, clean, boots are good, there's nothing to see here, but what is there to see? There is something to see, and we'll get to that. And I'm quite surprised. Now, remember we talk about the sweat on the boot? This is what I mean. We're not worried about that. That's pretty normal. When I say normal, doesn't matter if it's done 100, 200, 300, 400,000 Ks. Once they get about, you know, 5 or 10 years old plus, you do get that bit of a sweat there. It's a very slow weep, not a leak. Until you start losing a lot of oil, not worth fixing. You see tiny, small amount at that end, not worried about that. Right, notice there's no mud sitting anywhere. I got lucky this time, I got most of it out, you know. Literally though, a 5-minute spray, front, rear, left, right, around the wheel arches. It's got the old original radiator in it. Look, you know, you can see it's not looking its best, but it does the job, and it'll get a new one soon. Let's have a look at this side. See what I mean? You know, they just start looking a bit old, but it's not blocked, it's clean. It's the main thing, it does the job, but those little cores, those little fins, they will deteriorate over time. So over the next few years, if not sooner rather than later, this vehicle will get another radiator. These bushes, so the arms were done at about, whoa, nearly dropped it. The arms were done at about, I don't know, 250,000 Ks or something like that. Right, the front bushes have been copping a fair hammering. That's the tracks for you. But they're just twist cracks. They're not splitting. The splits normally happen at these back bushes here. You can see they're all good. They've been good for, well over 100,000 Ks. But the problem we got is at about the same point in time, around the, I can't remember if it was 250, somewhere there, we replaced both the front wheel bearing assemblies, okay? Both of them. And checking the vehicle, one of the checks, a lot of river crossings, dirt, dust and rough tracks, there's always a risk that you're going to have problems with bearings, both rear, right, check those out, just check for play, give them a spin, make sure they're clean. I had been hearing a bit of a noise that sounded like a slight whining, not just ever so slight. I'm talking like most people are not going to notice this at all whatsoever, you know. I am a bit too fussy, and I thought, nah, done the wheel bearings at, you know, 250. What's it done? I don't know, 380, 390, somewhere there. It's only done, say, 130, 140,000 Ks on these wheel bearings. No way, you know, no dramas there, right? So I've come around, check out this wheel bearing at this side, right? It's hard to do with the camera in hand, obviously. Anyway, no play on that one. Come around the passenger side here, and to my surprise, again, hard to hold it still. Not a massive amount of play in it, right? I'll give you, it's about like a millimetre. So it's early days. So there is a slight noise there is a slight bit of play there. And you know what? This is my problem, guys. I'm always looking at what's going to let me down, what's going to let me down, what can I replace next? And this is why this is the best 120 you can find, because just about everything's been replaced, right? I mean, you know, the inner rack ends, these tie rod ends, you know, the drive shafts, we didn't, funnily enough, I'll tell you, we didn't put new shafts in because I can't stand waste. So where we've had clients put new shafts in, I kept all the old bits and pieces for spares, and I had some shafts that, you know, either had a good low K inner or a good low K outer, where the whole, and so I made mix and match. So I've got parts in the front of this vehicle, here you go, to save waste in the R&D vehicle. And that's the idea of this, to get treated hard and get used hard, do lots of trips and let you know what's going to let you down. So we've got an inner and an outer, so there's probably two persons cars there and another two over this side, right? So that's all not new, but all genuine parts. Genuine drive shafts are definitely the best, and the right setup is the best way to keep it reliable. And you can see here, full extension on the suspension, not too much angle. That's the way to be reliable. So this this bearing, you know, I've been looking at it going, oh, you know, when can I replace this? I'm just hanging to do them again because it was about 5 years ago. They've been up the Cape, they've been across the Gib, down the Tanamite, they've been over to WA probably a couple of times, you know what I mean, this sort of thing. They've been around, guys, they've been, you know, all sort, you know, whatever, but that's all this vehicle does, a lot of tracks and stuff like that. It doesn't drive around, it's not a shopping cart, if you know what I mean. So the warning is, I suppose, as low as 100 to 150,000 Ks, it is possible that you will need to replace those wheel bearings again if you get a lot of dust and dirt and a lot of water crossings, right? So I avoid mud, but a lot of water, it's eventually going to get in. We do our little, we've been doing, may not have done it on this vehicle, it'll be interesting to see, but it was around this time we started doing our little bit of extra sealant. I figured, you know, it won't hurt. So yeah, anyway guys, hopefully that gives you an idea of, you know, the sorts of things. We're just looking around but can't really find anything. But those front wheel bearings is an important one to check, and just mainly looking for any leaks and deterioration. If you have been playing in the mud, I'll give you this little tip if you've hung around to the end. You know, every now and then you might want to go and clean, that's your fuel tank breather there. And just for this video, I gave it a clean to make it look good so you can see what's what. You can just pop that whole thing right off, give it a good wash out, blow it dry and clean, and make sure you can breathe through it, and then you won't have it blow through it, you know, each way slowly. There'll be a slight resistance, and then you won't have any issues with that, hopefully. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please subscribe. The other thing we did, we turned the, we lubed up the drive shaft, of course, all the dust, dirt and river crossings. You're gonna get a little bit extra lubrication going on every 5,000, but just a little bit more often. Thanks for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, turn the bell on, bada bing, we're out of here, bada boom, see ya.